All right, we're live on YouTube. Season 1, episode 8. It's the last episode of season 1. It's our finale. There we go. I don't know how much you heard of what I was just saying, but there we go. So, join the dots forward with me, James D'Souza, and Adam, who's getting some water.
Got water.
And he's back.
Back
from New York. From
my gang.
The peaky New York. I'm actually surprised you kept it. It's because
I tell you
sponsor him.
Yeah, I'm still raising money. I haven't hit my target yet. I'm at £800 out of £1,000. So I only need like 4 people to sponsor 50 quid at this point to hit my target.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want to give you all the different permutations that could be, but 4 people do.
There's a lot.
4 people that would do 50 quid would do it. So I'm going to keep it for a bit. I'm not going to shave around it anymore. So it'll start to, disappear in amongst the stubble. But there's still a few kind of key people that haven't yet donated. Imran, I'm looking at you. Gavin, I'm looking at you. My aunt and uncle, I'm looking at you. My brother and his partner donated just after midnight last night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it took them all month. But, better late than never.
Well, exactly.
Men's health doesn't go away on November 30th.
Yeah. I think little and often, small things over time, little things make a big difference.
In what way? What do you mean?
So in my weekly video on Instagram, my weekly 1-minute video, and Instagram is so freaking annoying. They've changed the layout of the app so you can't easily do a 1-minute video anymore. Anyway.
Do you know, Instagram, actually not always. In the early days of Instagram, it was very user-friendly, and I found that each iteration it's become a little less user-friendly.
I suppose it's like anything. If you use it or lose it, like if you don't use it, you don't keep up with it, it just changes. But I do feel that they've missed. It's not quite. It's like they're trying to compete with Snapchat, basically.
Yeah.
So, what I was saying was in my 1-minute video, Monday video that I did this week, one of the things that I was talking about was talking about how you feel gets easier as you do it more. And I don't mean like going over the top dramatic about how you feel. I mean, actually being able to articulate, this is what's happening to me. And this is how I'm feeling at the moment. And this is what it means. And this is what's been going on. That gets easier the more you do it. So if between the end of November this year, 2020, and the beginning of November 2021, somebody watching this podcast becomes more comfortable through practice a little bit every day, talking about how they feel and feels better, great. But I like the way you said it as well. Men's mental health doesn't go away after the end of November.
Yeah.
Still a thing.
The little and often thing applies across the board as well.
Yeah.
If you'd probably find, you play guitar, right? So you'd probably find doing 10 minutes of practice every day would be more beneficial than an hour of practice once a week.
Yeah, I do.
And that's the case, for the brain, that little and often tells the brain, this is important. One of the exercises that I'm doing at the moment, I think I might have shared this with you the other day, is
the finger thing.
I'm learning to do finger circles without moving my other fingers. each one, and it's really difficult. But in the same way that if I do this, I don't know, three circles each way, 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, it tells my brain, oh, this is important, rather than if I just like sit down once a week and go, okay, now I've got to do it.
No thumb as well, or just the fingers?
Thumb. Yeah, you can do thumb. I mean, my thumb is pretty good anyway. Like, I can move that without my fingers moving. But like in particular, my little finger and my ring finger are very, very difficult. But there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to move each digit on its own, other than you don't, use it or lose it. And so they become like wired together in the brain, because every time you move them, they move together. So it becomes like a chunked unit of information for the brain. So it goes, and everything moves. But in terms of the brain's like proprioceptive map, like the brain's map of the body, if they move together, it's because they are one and the same thing. They're not distinct things as far as your brain is concerned. So I can
probably practice guitar by doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
as well as things like, this one was one that you...
That was one I told you about, but then you told me about the whole...
Yeah, and so I've been practicing that one as well. And then also with the thumb. Do you do it with your thumb?
I was only ever doing that one. Is that the one?
Right. Yeah, so that one.
Yeah, is that good?
Yeah, that's good. And you could do it with your thumb as well. So same action, you go all the way across and then back out.
Yeah, that one.
And then obviously you could do it the other way. Just like you could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can do things like that.
But that's although that's moving all the fingers at the same time, you're moving each joint independently.
Yeah.
So not a joint cluster, a finger cluster, like all the joints are separated.
I can do that. I think that looks cool.
I can do that.
So, but that's really cool. So I might start doing that.
Yeah, little and often.
Yeah. But anyway, episode 8 is about this.
Yeah.
Harry Potter. It's about Harry Potter. It's about the hero's journey. Now, before we went live, I was reminding Adam that we did an episode of a friend's podcast, who I do a podcast live stream with every Sunday morning. His name's Willem van der Horst, the Ice Cream for Everyone guy who works in marketing and communications. We did, I think it was his first podcast episode, and we talked about this very thing, the hero's journey. Now, I remembered that.
I think that was, 4 years ago?
I don't know how many. It was ages ago. It was a long time ago.
I think it was before I was a dad.
Yeah, it was. Definitely before you were dad.
And he's just coming up to 4 now. So it must be like 4.5 years ago that we did that.
I'm not even sure Lauren was pregnant.
Maybe not. Maybe it's more. Maybe it's 5 years ago.
It's a while.
Yeah. Because there was great conversation about the Heath, Hampstead Heath, being very heathy.
You remembered that bit, but you didn't remember the whole theme of what we talked about.
No, that's the most important bit. That's the bit that's been little and often ever since.
The Heathy Heath.
The Heathy Heath.
So you remembered that because it's often.
Running joke. That's been a running joke ever since. The Heathy Heath.
It has. Not the hero's journey. Not that the hero's journey is a running joke. The hero's journey is a cool concept. So here's a little representation of it. And we picked this because Adam, we were talking about Harry Potter, and Adam has very specific opinions about Harry Potter.
Yeah, I think it's rubbish.
And but
I'm not quite sure. I don't think it's rubbish. It's not accurate.
You probably think it's bland. Very, very, very bland.
I think
very
it's
mediocre.
I don't even know. Yeah, I think I wouldn't say bland. I'd say mediocre. I'd say middle of the road. That's what I'd say about it. Like, it has such mass appeal And for it to have that big an appeal, it has to be relatively mediocre and inoffensive in every possible way, so that many people like it.
Do you think that applies to anything that gets mass appeal?
It can't be that challenging to read. The language
it isn't.
It can't be like linguistically that advanced. It's got to be a pretty basic reading level.
Oh, children's book.
Yeah. I mean, just right there, you open it out, like, so you're not getting like really rich language necessarily. You're getting quite simplistic language.
True.
Nothing wrong with that. It's just like, and yeah, it's accessible to everyone. Brilliant. But it doesn't like have that standout quality of like, oh my God, this is a real wordsmith. The author is like, is a craftsman.
Who would? Okay, so first of all, who do you think?
An example. I'm not knocking J.K. Rowling.
No, I know. So who do you think is? What was the last thing that you read where you're like, whoa, this is really wordsmithy? Always having to think. Thinking face.
I haven't read much like that. I mean, I tried reading Foucault's The Order of Things. But that's like the other end of the spectrum, right? It's so wordy and so dense, and that was not required reading, recommended reading for a course.
But that wouldn't have been his first language, would it? Because he would have written it in French, I guess.
No, so it would have been a translation. I think the original was in French, but his language is incredibly specific.
Yeah.
Sapiens was more in that direction of like being, using quite rich language.
We are going to come back to Sapiens.
Okay, good.
The light is reflecting off your circus picture and creating some interesting effects.
It's glass, man. What do you can't?
No, it's making a nice like.
Probably Game of Thrones was, and the Song of Ice and Fire, that whole series. He's a real wordsmith. He doesn't hold back on his language or his descriptions. You get pages and pages of descriptions about a meal, or about a fabric that was used in a particular region,
of Westeros.
Yeah. Trying to think if there's something. I mean, there's nothing that jumps out at me as that. But I've also not read novels recently.
I haven't read many.
I've been reading much more non-fiction in the last few years. I don't know.
Okay, so the other question that I wanted to ask was, does that mean, and I mentioned this earlier, does that mean that something that has mass appeal, that's really accessible, isn't going to be that great? It's going to be middle of the road.
I think in most cases, I don't know. Have you got something in mind?
No. I just wanted to know what you thought.
I mean, you're wearing a Star Wars t-shirt, right? And we're both fans of Star Wars, but Star Wars doesn't have that same mass appeal. It's got huge appeal, but not quite the breadth. Like, predominantly guys, not girls.
Mm-hmm.
Predominantly of a certain age.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like you and me who are in their 40s really love it, but we were introduced to it when we were of that age and fell in love with it at that age and have taken it with us. But if I came to it new now, would I love it in the same way? Probably not.
It's interesting because
do I think that there are better sci-fi movies out there? Probably.
I was having a discussion about Star Wars with a group of year 13s, so they were in 17, 18.
Oh god!
And they were
episode 1, 2, and 3.
That is exactly what I was about to say. They think episode 1, 2, and 3 are better than 4, 5, 6.
I mean, they're sparkly.
Your face.
they're a little bit more like glitzy and shiny. And
this is your reaction to that. So, but you've actually connected back to this idea of the hero's journey. So I'm going to put this up again. So the hero's journey is a monomyth. It's a I suppose a great narrative that
archetypal story.
Yeah, that goes through where the character goes through a particular journey, and it's I once I heard about this, I just kept it's Star Wars, it's Harry Potter, it's The Lion King, it's
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Yes, of course, it's all of those things.
Yeah,
and then you realize how many similarities there are in all of those stories because they follow this thing, the call to adventure. Let's go somewhere. Someone turns up, the supernatural aid, and I'm not sure what Threshold Guardian is. It's like, oh yes, okay, it's the moving into another world. The world is a lot bigger than you think. Yes, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi says it.
I don't know that I love this this loop actually.
This was the first one I found, so I just picked it. There are better ones. There are much better ones.
Because actually there is this call to adventure which comes with, you know, I guess they're calling it a supernatural aid in this, but then there's always the decline. Like they decline going on that journey.
Yeah, they say no. I don't want to do it. Yeah, they do.
You know, like I forget exactly what Luke says in Star Wars.
That's your uncle talking.
Yeah, exactly. You should come with me to
learn the ways of the Force. Yeah.
God,
I can take you as far as Anchorhead, and you can get a transport from there.
Exactly, that whole bit, right? That's like he says no. You know, it's the same with Frodo in you know, Gandalf says go, and he says, oh no, I can't. You know, I'm a hobbit.
The Shire, I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Same with Harry Potter as well. He's a kid.
Couldn't tell you.
He's a kid. He's loads of weird things.
Have you read the Harry Potter books?
I have indeed.
I'm being very critical of them, and I've not read them.
I read the books. I watched the first 4 films.
It's about what?
And then
about the first 4 films. I went with my ex-girlfriend's nieces and nephews.
Okay. And then relatively recently, we watched the next however many there were.
Yeah.
And we rewatched the first few as well. And some of them, I don't think. I mean, they're okay. They're okay. They're not amazing films.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. Films. They're okay. Then they're not bad. They're not great. They're kind of middle of the road.
Yeah, and I didn't feel there was almost too much happening in it, like that took away from the hero's journey. He was on, and
I just found that they didn't compel. Like, I remember when I watched the first bit of Game of Thrones, the TV show. I hadn't read the books at that point, and I was compelled to read the books. And like immediately, I went and I devoured all the books. I stopped watching. I think I stopped watching the TV show, and then
you told me you did. You did a whole thing of
show.
Yeah.
And then watched the TV show right up until it started overtaking the books, because there was a point where like some of the story strands were overtaking the books and some hadn't quite caught up with the end of the book. And at that point, when it was like starting to hit that edge, I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done with the TV show.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait for the Winds of Winter whenever the hell it comes out. 2035.
I hope it does come out. That's a very interesting series of books, because Lord of the Rings seems epic from the beginning. This whole like world that gets created of the Ring, Frodo, the Ring Wraiths, the whole thing. The whole thing.
Like Mordor on the other side of the world.
The Eye of Sauron, danger, from the east, all of that. Whereas when I read Game of Thrones, it starts off really small,
it's really incremental, isn't it?
And then suddenly we're talking about these huge concepts of man, nature, like this other world of elves and old ancient magic and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, whoa, okay, it suddenly got very big very quickly. And he does a really good job of weaving it all together. And there's a lot in there. And I did finish watching the whole TV series, and there was they clearly merged people together into single characters and shortened it all, and it was like
They did, and I found it very hard to follow at times because of that, because I was still thinking from the books.
Yeah.
But it doesn't surprise me that they had to do that for simplicity's sake, because there are so many characters. Like,
yes.
You know, for anyone that's watching that hasn't read the books, like the back of each book has pages in the index, the appendices, pages and pages of like the family trees of every family, and you know, it's epic. And like people will come in for like a moment in the books and then disappear. Like they're probably even in those appendices and never have an appearance in the book.
Yeah,
I expect. I don't know, but
now it's interesting because last academic year we had a couple of trainee teachers, and one of them, they were historians and they studied classics as well, and one of them very vocal, very anti George R.R. Martin for what he did with Game of Thrones, because it's he just ripped off history basically.
Yeah,
and I can't remember.
He's like a history buff. Like he really knows his history and draws on it. So it's one of the reasons why it's so good, is it's very rich in historical detail, and so it makes it feel like a very real world. And it doesn't have, even though it's a fantasy book, it doesn't have a lot of the classic fantasy elements. You know, like the degree to which there is magic in that world is incredibly limited. The degree
it's very hinted at.
Characters is very limited. Like, you know, people don't typically have magic or magical powers. They're, you know, like, yes, there are dragons. Yes,
but they've been disappeared for generations.
Yeah, but it's not the norm. You know, like the norm is pretty much historical reality.
Intrigue,
they kind of food. They dressed this kind of way. They traveled this kind of method by this means or method. Like I think that's what makes it great, is that it is so rich with detail.
What do you think? So thinking back to the hero's journey in Game of Thrones, who for you is the hero?
Do you know what? I think my link there is wrong. I think that should be .co, not .com.
It should be .co, yeah.
I'm going to change that. Sorry, what was your question?
When you were reading Game of Thrones, who was the person you felt was the hero? The Luke Skywalker, the Frodo? I'm trying to think of other heroes, but I can't think of any more.
Well, that's what I really like about it. So for me, this is the big difference between, say, Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire and The Lord of the Rings, right? Which are probably two of the best known fantasy epics that have had both as a book and as a
Dune, not yet.
Yeah, and I've not read Dune. You know,
it's amazing. It's amazing.
But they are. Is Dune like on the same sort of scale?
Yeah. The difference is Dune in one book manages to create the hugeness of the universe and this world and that epicness that Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones take a lot longer to do.
Right. Okay. I mean, I'd love to read it.
That's amazing.
I'll add it to my list. Here's the fundamental, for me, here's the fundamental difference between those two. right? Aside from the fact that in the Lord, I guess this is the other one, right? But putting this one aside, the Lord of the Rings is very fantastical, like magic and elves and dwarves and all of that stuff exists and is used and utilized on a like almost a moment by moment basis, like natural powers of the ring and Sauron and Gandalf and the elves and all of that, right? Put all of that aside, right? The biggest difference for me is that in Lord of the Rings, it is very black and white. Who's a good guy and who's a bad guy? Sauron bad, Gollum bad, orcs bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Elves good.
Dwarves.
Hobbit good. Dwarves good, but grumpy.
Men.
But good. Men good, but cynical. Right? But they are the good guys. Right?
Okay.
From Aragorn right through, unless they are taken by the power of the ring, as with
the dark side.
The dark side. Whoever Sean Bean's character was, whose name I
Boromir, Boromir. It's Boromir, yeah.
Right? But still, a good guy who does
Ned
something
Stark.
bad,
He was Ned Stark.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Now, Game of Thrones, you don't have characters that are good, and bad. They're very grey. They have good
aspects. White Walkers.
Aspects. They have they do good things, they do bad things, but they're not like, oh, these are the good guys and these are the bad guys. Even initially they're sort of laid out like that, they very quickly get subverted. Like the Lannisters, Tyrion Lannister is not a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. He's not the bad guy.
He's not good either, but to be fair,
he's
just human. But what about what?
Exactly. That's my point. Is they're very real three-dimensional characters, not just good or bad.
Whereas the White Walkers, definitely the sense and presence of evil, definitely, but that only evil in the sense of death. They're going to kill everything. So, and even though
there's not much character there.
No, there isn't. It's just a force of fear and darkness and evil and death and horror and all of that.
So that for me, that's like the big difference between the two, and I think that's probably why we don't have a classic hero's journey in A Song of Ice and Fire, because there isn't a there isn't for a start, there isn't a single hero. You're not following a character on their journey.
No, you're not. You're not.
Right, there are
a whole bunch of people,
multiple journeys and multiple strands all going on at the same time, paths crossing, and if you read the books, like the books are laid out chapter to chapter, character to character. Like you'll have a Tyrion chapter, and then a Daenerys chapter, and then a something else chapter, and it switches.
I'm just thinking about, it really is like that. I think, I suppose that does contribute to the richness of all the books, the multiple strands and families and ideas and characters and people and where they go and where they end up and how they get there. But there is definitely
I think
it does fit together. I think.
It absolutely does fit together. And I'm just kind of seeing something for myself now, which is that the characters in A Song of Ice and Fire are much more a product of their families and their cultures than anything else.
Yeah.
So it's not that they're good or they're bad. They are for their own personal history. Much the same that you and I are, and anyone else. Like we are given by, our experience and our culture and all of that. It's like, and I would do things that you wouldn't do, and you would do things that I wouldn't do. And, we react to things differently because of our different backgrounds. And I think that that's what you see in A Song of Ice and Fire, much more than are they good, are they bad?
It's a bit more of a complicated diagram.
Ooh. Is this also Hero's Journey?
Yeah.
Threshold, negation and crisis. Yeah, that's the I can't possibly.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Can't do it. The calling. Luke, use the Force.
No, that's much later on.
Oh, that's towards the end.
Yeah.
The ultimate challenge. Environment, sensation, probably there. This one's very interesting because it's got theory, the thinking, the individual discovery, the practice, the learning. Oh, there we go. Back to Marvel, discovering your own superpower origin story, then going out into the world and the environment, and then it continues.
Mm.
There's a ton of stuff. There's one diagram which I do really like, which I can't find, very annoyingly.
This is another hero journey diagram.
Yeah, I used it I did a presentation at school about Star Wars, and oh, maybe this one. Yeah, okay, this one might be better because Joseph Conrad wrote Heart of Darkness. I mean Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell was the guy who inspired George Lucas, and with myths and legends and ideas and big universal themes and stories, which is part of the reason I like Star Wars so much. Watching Star Wars was the first time where I actually thought about death. When Darth Vader on Obi-Wan Kenobi, I distinctly remember. I must have been about 8 or 9. I was like, did he die? No, he didn't die. He didn't die. He just kind of disappeared. But did Darth Vader kill him? What happened? Then I was thinking about what happens when you die. Do you go to heaven or hell? Is there a hell? All of these questions that were way too big for I mean, they're pretty big questions now, but my 7-year-old mind was enthralled by trying to make sense of it all. Totally enthralled.
So here's a question for you, just to take that and go off on a small tangent.
Yep.
Did David Prowse die?
He did.
Did he go to heaven or hell, or did he just kind of disappear?
When he died?
When he disappeared. If he died.
His body's still here.
This week, for anyone that's watching this 6 years from now, David Prowse died this week. David Prowse, the body of Darth Vader.
And the voice before it was intercut with James Earl Jones.
Which was a good idea, because David Prowse, I think, was from the
Bristolian. From Bristol.
Was he from Bristol? Yeah, he was from the West Country and had quite a heavy West Country accent, I think.
He did. James Earl Jones, definitely the voice of Vader.
Yeah.
So this one is from Joseph Campbell's 17-stage monomyth.
Mm.
And the arrows go anti-clockwise, which is somewhat disconcerting.
Controversial. Anti-clockwise arrows. Call to adventure, refusal of the call, supernatural aid, crossing the first threshold. That's like Samwise Gamgee going, if I take one more step, this is the furthest I'll ever have been from home.
I forgot about that.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. Initiation. That moves, that's the initiation, crossing the first threshold.
Yeah.
Belly of the whale. Belly of the whale.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what he means by that.
Road of trials, meeting with the goddess, woman as temptress. Atonement with father, that old chestnut. Oh, George Lucas. Magic flight. Oh, God, it's all there.
Anyone who's seen Lord of the Rings, that's the first ending to Lord of the Rings, the magic flight.
I mean,
Lord of the Rings has like 6 endings.
Yeah, it does. I was just thinking that it does. What is actually? I can't remember what apotheosis means. Is that
apotheosis?
Yeah, I said it wrong. Apotheosis.
I don't know. Let's look it up.
You can look it up while I leave this on the screen and talk about it. So, Atonement Father, Apotheosis, Ultimate Boon, The Refusal of the Return, Magic Flight, Rescue from Without. So that's, I suppose, Han Solo appearing to shoot Vader off so he can blow this thing, go home. Crossing the Return Threshold, Master of Two Worlds, Freedom to Live, Equilibrium. Yeah, but equilibrium and stability are boring. So then there's a call to adventure.
The definition.
Yeah, Apotheosis.
Exaltation to divine rank or stature. Deification.
Oh, you kind of.
Yeah. Elevation to a preeminent or transcendent position, or
Jedi.
An exalted or glorified example.
Become a Jedi. Actually, okay.
My moustache.
What about your moustache?
Deification. Glorification.
Yeah. I mean, it is an epic moustache. It has been a journey.
I went out wearing my flat cap the other day, which I'd been putting off all month because I knew it was just like, it was kind of completing the look in a way that I wasn't really comfortable with.
Yeah. You said you went out with and you had your moustache growing and you had some funny looks.
Well, I've had lots of funny looks. Also, yesterday, a jogger went past me who was in is it one? The 118 characters.
Yeah.
118, 118.
Yeah. With the moustache.
Like yeah, it was a bit like that, but it was like a blonde mullet wig and blonde moustache and naff jogging outfit and like red and gold or something.
Mm-hmm.
He jogged past me, and then 100 yards later, a girl was jogging past me, also in a bit of a naff jogging outfit with a pen drawn moustache. I have no idea what this was about. She just looked at me, and I looked at her, and at exactly the same time, we both went, "Nice moustache."
Oh, except yours is real.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a lot of very good looks.
Sam Madge has joined us and he says, well done to you two with November.
Thank you.
But as Adam has been telling me, I look normal. Doesn't look in any way kind of out there.
You don't look out of the ordinary. Like forget about the moustache. You don't look any different to how you normally look.
Really?
Your facial hair changes 6 times a year, at least.
That's true. And the hair will change
and the hair
year as well.
Yeah.
But I noticed at school, people have really short memories. So when in the summer, I shaved all my hair off, and I think I don't even remember if I had any facial hair. I might have. And then I come back with loads of hair, and I say, "Oh, I'm going to shave all my hair off." No, you can't do that. You look completely different. What are you talking about? I was like, I did it last summer. Have you forgotten already? Everyone seems to have forgotten that I was clean shaven at the beginning of November.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah, so it was what? Sorry.
Cold, because I went from having a beard to being like.
Yeah, shaven. I noticed that when I had a really big beard, I could feel the wind pulling it, and then going clean shaven, it was this feels strange. But one of the teachers who did have a moustache, Patrick Watkinson, who grew it and raised, I think he's got like 100 and something quid. Today, it was gone. Moustache was gone already. So I know that Sam was very keen to get rid of his because his wife doesn't like it. So I'm just like, okay, fine. I suppose I'm probably going to shave off this bit and go for the 70s porn star look.
Yeah, you'd probably suit a 70s porn star look.
Because I'm 47, I'm so old.
Yeah.
57 actually.
Exactly. Oh, look, I'm being reminded to take the bins out tonight.
I've already done that. Ha ha.
taking the bins
Samurai
out,
just,
like you can basically throw your bin out from your front door. Mine's
yeah,
like
that's
a
true.
5-minute walk down the driveway.
Samurai just telling me to look at my emails. Yeah, I don't care about that. He needs to ask a question. Apparently, I'm not normal. He's put your YOUR.
You're not normal. Do you have a not normal?
What is a not normal?
I'm not sure.
Do you know what he's talking about? His misuse of the English language is making things very confusing.
I don't know. He's not even at J.K. Rowling's standard.
He's probably more. Elmore. Who wrote 50 Shades of Grey? Can't remember.
I can tell you.
He's more at that level. Fan fiction.
Wasn't Elmore one of the Blues Brothers?
Jake and Elwood.
Wood. Not Elmore. Elwood. Yeah.
That had all the elements of the hero's journey in it. Blues Brothers. Supernatural quality. You know, when he goes into the church and he starts dancing and comes down.
Yeah.
I need to rewatch that film. I love that film.
Great film. I watched it not that long ago, not that recently either, but maybe a year ago, year and a half ago.
It's making me think about it
stands the test of time. That's what I'll say about it.
Really?
It's dated in its look, because it is old. But yeah, I think it stands the test of time.
We watched Grosse Point Blank around my birthday.
That's a great movie.
And we also watched relatively soon after that. Oh my God, the name of it's gone out of my head. Another John Cusack film based on the Nick Hornby one, the music one, High Fidelity. Yeah, we watched them.
5 things.
Top 5.
Oh yeah.
Top 5 things about what?
I don't know. I haven't got a good one for you. Top 5 things.
Top 5 things. Okay. Top five things.
Man, it's been a really long time since I've seen High Fidelity.
Yeah, it's a really good film.
Around when it came out.
Yeah, but watching, I will come back to the top five things. But the watching Grosse Point Blank, the way the way they dress, I'm like, oh my God, it's just 90s horror almost. But as a film, it's really good.
Yeah.
And High Fidelity, such a music nerd. I just think it's brilliant. And Jack Black steals it.
Yeah.
He absolutely steals it.
I don't know why, but I think that you were watching Grosse Point Blank at the same time that I was watching Groundhog Day.
It was around that time, yeah.
It was right around then, wasn't it? It's like in those days. And excuse me, I was watching it with Lauren. And Lauren was convinced she'd seen it, and she was in creases. She, like, the whole way through Groundhog Day, she was in creases. She was like, I don't remember this. I don't remember this. I'm not convinced she'd ever seen it. No, she couldn't remember so much of it that
Ned Ryerson?
Yeah, exactly. Good, yeah.
We've got a question, by the way.
Oh, go on then. We'll take it.
And I think it relates to the hero's journey. But if you both had a day to spend £1 million, what would you do in that day, and what would you buy?
Okay, I'm going to assume that we're limited to buying and not to giving it away in any way. If you had a day to spend £1 million, what would you buy?
What would you do in that day, and what would you buy? There's no freaking question mark on that. Just appalling.
Get your red pen out.
Tempting.
Right now, I'd probably hire a private jet and go somewhere hot with my family and swim with dolphins. I'm not like right now in 2020. I'm not particularly interested in traveling coach class.
Yeah. Yeah, economy, in other words.
Yeah. Yeah, in the cheap. So yeah, I and Lauren's been pining for a holiday. Like we were going to go on a big holiday this year. We were going to go on a to celebrate our joint 40ths, which obviously we didn't get to do because basically nobody's traveling beyond their garden. So yeah, I'd probably do that this year. Go on a really, really nice luxury holiday. Yeah, long as well. I know we only had a day. We only had a day to spend it.
A day to spend £1 million.
Oh, bugger. Well, I suppose I could spend it all in a day. Do all the bookings in a day.
Yeah, plan out a whole.
Yeah, plan out a month and spend it in a day.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm thinking completely differently to you. I'm thinking of how would I get Davina's family and my family to all be living relatively close and in comfort.
You'd have to move to Devon.
I suppose we would. Then we could be close to you.
That's probably the other thing that I might do is I might buy a property.
Or buy a plot of land and have a custom built property. I think that's what I would do.
Yeah, either way. But
yeah,
I mean that's really what we'd like to do is we'd like to build our own home. That's what we're gearing towards. I'd just be really hesitant about doing it now because I think the property price is going to come down. But if I had £1 million that was not like my £1 million, like you're going to give me £1 million to spend in a day, probably a good thing to do. Either that or buy a lot of Bitcoin.
Yeah. I think that because Davina and I have been talking about this, talking about Christmas. She celebrated her 40th recently. We don't want much. We don't want much stuff.
Yeah.
If it's about bringing people together, I used to like my whole thing was, and this goes back to I suppose the hero's journey thing. I watched The Godfather. I loved it. I thought it was great. There was a certain, I don't know, like the Italian Catholic sensibility that spoke to the characters, the music, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Reminded me of some without all the killing and illegal activities. Spoke to what it was. It reminded, some of the characters reminded me of my granddad. Just and the Sopranos. That's one of the reasons I like Sopranos. I think there's a character in there in Sopranos who completely reminds me of my grandfather. Just the way they talk, the way they are, it's like just totally.
Yeah.
So when I watched The Godfather, I was like, I imagined myself be like The Godfather with family, with everybody there, with my daughters getting married and like that whole experience of providing and bringing people together and community and all of that. That's the thing, and that's something that Davina and I've talked about a lot, like that experience of family and bringing everybody together. We were talking this year about doing Christmas at our place for everybody, my family and her family, all together, one big family, which would have been a huge statement of intent for the future. Because normally we go to my parents, then we go to her mum's, and then
both on Christmas Day.
Both on Christmas Day, yeah. And it works out really well. And a couple of times my parents have gone to Davina's mum's, but we've never really had everybody. We've done it a couple of times. We had Easter at ours with everyone in the family coming over, and I did a treasure hunt, which everybody thought was hilarious. We had a really great time. But Christmas, big thing where I think this, because my Davina is definitely matriarch in waiting. She's the woman that makes things happen in her family.
So can I ask you a question? Because Christmas this year is looking to be pretty different to most years.
Yes, it is.
So what are you going to do? Do you know? Like, because there's this whole like 3 families bubble rule.
I don't know. I started the conversation with my parents.
You've got you and Davina, and then you've got your sister and her partner. And
Yep.
are they living together?
Yeah, they are.
Okay, so that's one household, and then you've got your parents. That's 3 households. But then you've also got Davina, which is part of your household, and then 2 brothers.
Yep.
And her mum.
Well, yeah. So one of the brothers lives with her mum.
Okay. Okay, so brother and mum, and then other brother.
Then like aunties.
Right. So even if you just stuck to immediate family, you're way beyond the I mean you're 2 beyond the 3 household rule. So have you given any thought at this point to what you're going to do?
No. Started the conversation with my parents, and I don't know. We'll create something, and it will work, and we'll make the most of it. It won't be great.
Yeah.
Although Davina's birthday was great with the video.
Yeah.
It was so hard not to tell her. Oh my god. But she loved it, and she's rewatched the video a couple of times.
Nice.
So I think there are ways of having it be a celebration, but it's no, I don't know. It's not going to be the same. It's not. But I mean, are we infinitely adaptable and resilient as human beings? I guess we are.
It depends what you mean by infinitely. Like,
there is that need for socializing, contact, and being with each other, and
yeah,
that doesn't cut it if we're on screens. Just doesn't.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we're going to Lauren's mum's, but we're Jewish and Christmas isn't such a big deal for us. So yeah, we'll be here for and then we'll be there for Christmas. That's about it. But I don't think her brother is even going to come. I think it's just going to be like the 3 of us, and then Lauren's mum and her partner.
Okay. It is, yeah, I don't know. But it's worth having this kind of conversation to actually create something and look at it and make something happen, but also confront the whole frustration, how frustrating and like maybe probably the anger and the sadness.
It's I don't know what the state of things is legally, but obviously the 3-tier system is up for debate in Parliament tomorrow after the evidence, whatever it's worth, was published today. I don't know if that includes Christmas. I expect it does. So it's possible that things change tomorrow anyway. I've not been keeping a particularly close eye on how things are developing recently. I've kind of gotten tired of it. I'm not tired of feeling like my government can tell me who I can see, when I can see them, how many of my friends I can see at once. I'm finding it very, very tiresome now. And this notion of lockdowns until there's a vaccine is like, I find that really troubling, because the whole notion of lockdowns back in spring was about flattening the curve. It was flat curve
by protect the NHS.
Yeah, right. protecting, but it was like flatten the curve, don't let the NHS get overwhelmed, and buy us time so that the number of people who are infected and need treatment gets spread out over a longer period, right? It wasn't about reducing the number, it was about spreading it out over a longer period so that we had time to prepare, to learn more, to do more research, to work out how to treat it, how to if any existing medications worked for it, to work out how transmissible it was, to produce and buy more PPE for frontline workers. Like that was what Flatten the Curve was about. And that's what the lockdown was for. And this time, no one's saying flatten the curve. There's no call to flatten the curve. It's just cases are going up, and so we need to stop them going up.
There's a bit of discussion about the R number, but not much.
Not much, but it's sort of irrelevant. No, it's sort of irrelevant. Because if what you're going to do every time it creeps up is just tell people to stay home, all you're doing is murdering the economy.
Yeah.
And, it's in a bad enough state as it is at the end of this year. To keep shutting down the economy is an incredibly bad idea, because all it does, it might solve the problem short term, but it kicks the can down the road, and it kicks the can it can kick the can pretty far down the road to Albie's generation. This could have far-reaching ramifications that could still be going on when Albie reaches working age.
I never considered that. Oh wow, yeah.
If it really, really massacres the economy that badly that we enter a worldwide Great Depression. Yeah. Not like the Great Depression from the 1920s, 30s, but exponentially bigger.
Yeah.
We had months of people not being able to work and businesses being shut down. Months this year. And the monetary stimulus and the fiscal stimulus that's been going on has been off the charts.
Yeah.
Which inflates the currency and devalues the currency. So that could have epic repercussions that could last for years and years and years.
It's interesting how much you're thinking. Well, first of all, it's interesting how different your thinking is to mine. Although I get what you're saying, and I can see that, but I didn't immediately think of that. And how much of that I think is a product of being a father.
I don't know that it is actually. It's certainly a concern. But I think that the conversations that I'm having are less a product of being a father and more a product of the fact that it's an area of concern of mine, and that I'm having a lot of conversations with people about it. And I listen to a lot of people about it, and I read about it. But yeah, it's a concern for me. I'm 40. If this thing lasts another 20 years, it's gonna last through to my retirement, basically. This is gonna be the rest of our life if it goes that way. And it's concerning to me that the idea that lockdowns are now no longer about buying us time to prepare, and are now just about waiting it out until there's a vaccine, and that's the only solution. At some point, you've got to start to ask, well, why isn't there any media coverage or any politician saying, do you know what, everyone, there's a virus. The best thing that we could do right now is make sure your immune systems are functioning really, really well. Be healthy, eat well, sleep well, exercise. That's the best thing that we can possibly do. And keep the people who are really vulnerable safe.
That's something
No one's saying right? The media isn't saying that. The news isn't saying that. The politicians aren't saying that. And at some point, you got to ask why.
Yeah, yeah. That's something I was talking about in another one of my videos about the people have asked me or said to me in receiving the testicular cancer diagnosis about demonstrating resilience and how, like, they haven't said it this way, but I think what they're getting at is how have you managed? Are you okay? And so much of it goes back to the little things that I do every day, like get enough sleep, like exercise, like eat well, like journal, like every day. Now it's become a thing where Davina will ask me. So I was doing the washing up earlier. It's like, well, what are you grateful for? And we're having a whole conversation about gratitude. There was a post from Z Health about what gratitude does to the brain on Instagram.
What was that? I didn't see that.
Yeah, and what it does for the brain.
I've
So
my phone.
Sorry.
You
have. Yeah, you said that.
So I see some of their stuff on YouTube, but I don't see everything.
So it was all the little things, all those little things, and this is part of what I'm going to do in my whole school assembly in January. Is the importance of those little things mean that when a hurricane comes along, you're all right.
Yeah.
It's not that there isn't a hurricane happening. It's not you're pretending it's not. It's not that it isn't challenging, but you're able to weather it. You're able to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that, I think, everyone wants like an instant solution or a quick fix or a thing that's going to, or a get rich quick scheme. They want quick solutions. It doesn't happen like that. I don't know how long I've been keeping a journal, or like how long Davina and I've been expressing gratitude, or like it's yonks, it's normal. And I did it with my form last year and this year. We wrote down on bits of paper what are we grateful for. We kept it we did a jar of awesome in my form. But that created the foundation for being able to deal with whatever happens in life. And I think that's what I would go back to. Keep encouraging, like, so I phoned up my sister and we were just chatting and I was thanking her and telling her I love her and all that stuff. And that is what's going to, I think, allow me to deal with whatever happens next with the economy, with potentially my job, with lockdowns, no lockdowns, vaccine, no vaccine, all of that. And that's what I would emphasize to anyone watching this. And that's what I'm going to be emphasizing to all my students. Get those little things, and it goes from that little things like to little often to what are you grateful for, to use a mind journal, whatever it is. So I feel like it's gone all very serious for the past 10 minutes or so.
Well, there are serious things afoot in the world this year.
Yeah.
And one of my big characteristics is like I don't mind confronting the difficult stuff.
Which one of your Clifton strengths is that?
Command.
You say? Really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that part of command was like that.
Yeah. I don't mind confronting, like, whether that's a difficult conversation with someone or an argument or like any sort of confrontation, like an actual confrontation, like standing in front. Oh, here it is.
Oh, here it is. Hi.
I'm on a call with James. Oh, do you? Okay, just wait 1 minute because I think we're probably going to finish in a moment, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, like that kind of original meaning of confront, to stand in front of, to stand before something, like that's how it, like, so whatever it is, like that confronting of it. This year it's been, coronavirus and COVID, and like confronting, well, confronting this virus, and B, confronting lockdowns, and C, confronting not being able to see friends and family and all of that. It's just been like, okay, well, I'm not going to bury my head in the sand and ignore it. I'm not going to be really cheery and happy and pretend it's not that way. I'm going to deal with it at face value and deal with the facts.
And again, that's something else that really helped me. Going to the facts. What are the facts? That's grounded me a lot.
Yeah.
What's he holding in his hand, by the way?
Can I show James? Oh, you show James. Come show James.
What is it? It is an iPod. I did wonder.
That's his phone.
Wow.
Sheep. You were on the phone to sheep.
Call the sheep. Was that a jump? That was just like a launch off, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we should round off.
Yeah.
Season 1.
Let's round it off like this.
Go on
then. That notion of confronting the reality is part of the hero's journey.
It is.
You know, you got to go outside your comfort zone and face Sauron. And then and then there's always something better on the other side.
Separation, initiation, return.
Yeah.
Very good. Season 1 is at an end.
There you go.
8 episodes of joining the dots forward or backward. Yeah. Well, it doesn't really matter. They're both it's forward. Joining dots forward.
And we'll have a conversation to see where this goes now.
We will. Thank you very much. Pleasure, as always.
Always. See you later.
Alligator. Then you say...
See you next.
In a while...
In a while, crocodile. Is that what
Yes, yes!
See you next Tuesday.
There isn't going to be a next Tuesday.
Still want to say it.
You still want to say it. And you can with a beard like that. A mustache like that, not a beard. Oh, I kind of want to see you with a flat cap. Maybe that will happen at some point.
You want to go get it quickly?
Yeah, go on, go get it. Go get it. So while Adam is going to get the flat cap and his son chases him, I'm going to say thank you for watching. Submit questions. If you see me in school, then give us some questions. We always want questions. And give us some ideas for what we're going to do next. And oh my God, it's a Peaky Blinder. Not with a jumper like that. It's not.
No, it's the wrong jumper. But
it's the wrong jumper, but it's definitely... What else did you say it was? Gangs of New York. It's definitely some... Yeah.
I mean, it could be Gangs of New York with the jumper.
It could. It really could.
Yeah.
Some dodgy, tough, waiting to cause trouble.
And when I earlier on, I was wearing my trucker jacket as well, which kind of bulks me out a little bit, you know, and I think I looked a bit like tough and angry.
Yeah. That just looks silly.
All right, let's call it a day.
We'll call it a day. Yeah. That. Oh, hang on.
Oh,
that's the wrong button.
Wrong one.